And if the first hour wasn't enough for you, boy, do we have a treat for you in hour number two, our weekly visit from resident Bills Mafia member at the NFL Network, one Michael Robinson, who was tweeting like a nutball yesterday as balls were flying through the air with the greatest of ease. Michael Robinson, how does 400 total net yards sound to you at halftime?
Oh man, guys! First of all, what a great Sunday! Glad to be on today, and all Bills Mafia, please stand up. 400 passing yards almost in one half. I was over here telling my son, we were both watching the game. I'm like, son, Josh Allen's an alien. And then Tony Romo must have been reading my tweets because he said that as well, that Josh Allen is an alien. And I'm like, Burton, he's gonna throw for 800 yards in a game. Like, it was a clinic, and then with the conditions, the wind blowing, and you can say that the Pittsburgh Steelers weren't that great of a team. They are an NFL team and allowed somebody to throw the ball for almost 400 yards in a half. It was an unbelievable performance. He only threw the ball. He only had 20 completions, and in those 20 completions, over 400 yards passing. I was so impressed about the explosive passes that Josh Allen and this offense put on tape, because we already know who we're playing next week, the Kansas City Chiefs, but they need to put those explosive passes on tape so that when the safeties are playing this offense, they don't creep down and crowd that run game. Those explosive plays provide space for this offense, and I'm so glad they put it on tape, guys, because they look scary.
What did you make of the young players for the Bills, like the Khalil Shakir, James Cook, even Kaiir Elam, who was getting picked on by Kenny Pickett and Pickens, coming up with a big interception. Also, Isaiah Hodgins catching some balls as well for a touchdown. What did you think about the young guys who were forced into action at the skill positions who came in and contributed?
It was such a great day for Josh to be explosive in the passing game, because of what it did was it allowed the score to kind of get out of hand and allowed a lot of the young guys to get in the game and play. Some other young guys you guys didn't mention: Jaquan Johnson at safety, 8 tackles; Damar Hamlin at safety, 8 tackles. I mean 10 tackles. Those guys needed these reps. Obviously, they're taking the place of a Micah Hyde and a Jordan Poyer, who together may be the best tandem of safeties in the National Football League. Those guys are banged up, and Leslie Frazier and this defensive staff, they need these guys to have the experience, because later on in the season, they're going to be able to call on this experience that they're getting in games like this. But I thought they were sure tacklers. They were in the right spot, and especially Damar Hamlin. I mean, when he got down in the box and when he was in the box as the in-the-box safety, he was a playmaker. He made plays. He actually, as the free hitter, he made a lot of tackles. So you also mentioned Khalil Shakir. I actually think that his development is vital and paramount for this offense, because as teams have to worry about Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis, oh man, 3 catches over 170-something yards. Wow. As teams have to worry about those guys, it's going to be the 3rd and 4th receiver that, again, later on in the season, that are going to win games. So to see him catching passes across the middle, to see him catching some explosive passes, definitely gave this offense some confidence that they can face any defense and go up against any matchup that a defense presents.
Yeah, I was joking with Steve. Like, on most days, we'd be commenting on the fact that Shakir averaged 25 yards a reception. The problem is Gabe Davis averaged 57 yards a catch, and it doesn't even register on the radar. But Shakir, Michael, he demonstrated, even in training camp, a route savviness that you don't often see out of a rookie receiver. He just has this feel. Everything is so smooth, and it looks very easy. He's like a silky kind of route runner, knows what to do with it after the catch as well. He just seems wise beyond his years. High football IQ kind of stuff from him. I'm wondering where this goes going forward. McKenzie presumably should be out of concussion protocol this week. But I don't know. It just seems like Shakir's offensive skill set offers more diverse options than, say, McKenzie, whose game is largely predicated on pure speed. I'm not saying take McKenzie out of the lineup, but I think Shakir offers you some diversity that you can insert into this passing game going forward.
Great insight there, because, again, as this season goes on, as more tape comes out on this Buffalo Bills offense, teams are going to adjust. And when you talk about Shakir having that savviness, that just feel for the slot position, guys are either born with that or they aren't. That's not something that's developed. That's not something that you can tell a wide receiver coach to go out there and teach a guy to have that type of a feel. And I believe, based off of the type of run game that we run here in Buffalo with Ken Dorsey's offense, and the fact that you have a big, strong arm quarterback like a Josh Allen, everything starts with his right arm. There isn't an environment that he can't throw the football in. So when you talk about having more skill, more wide receivers, more diversity and skill set out there on the perimeter, you're just basically saying it's just more opportunity to get the ball out of Josh Allen's hands, and more opportunity for this offense to have answers again to whatever defense that presents itself to itself.
What do you think the depth that they've displayed at all these places where they've been injured, the offensive line in Miami, the defensive secondary throughout?
Tyrell Dodson yesterday.
The linebacking core, the defensive line. I mean, every position group has been tested. The tight end yesterday with Knox being out and Quentin Morris going in. All right, so you find all this out about how deep you are and how great you're seeing. What does that mean, though, when you're going in to play the Kansas City Chiefs and you got to have your roster together? Does it help you? Or do you just go, if your starters are healthy, they just go back in and those guys go back to the bench? Does it give you some ideas about other things you can expand your offense into or your defensive calls into to help you win this game this week?
Absolutely. Again, when you talk about giving these young guys and guys that don't have that much experience, getting them these reps, and then these guys having success, like those young defensive backs having success, that just tells the defensive staff, look, we have no problems putting these guys in the game against the Kansas City Chiefs, against a Patrick Mahomes, when the game is on the line, because they're going to call on those experiences later on. You see what I'm saying? And yes, when the starters come back, yes, you insert the starters back in. But obviously, when you have guys that present a certain skill set, you want to put your best 11 on the field. And I remember Pete Carroll telling me this when we were going through our Super Bowl run. He's like, Mike, when I coach this team, obviously, you're coaching everybody, but you don't coach the top guys. You're really talking to the lowest guys on your roster. You're really talking to the 52nd, 53rd guy on your roster, because you're only as stronger as the weakest guy on your roster. So again, at the end of the day, you want these guys to have this experiential knowledge, because they're going to be able to call on it later on. And Brandon Beane, man, great job. Great job. I mean, yes, we've encountered some injuries. Yes, we've encountered some adversity, but you're finding out so much more about your roster by going through the adversity, and you're also so happening to win games at the same time. That's definitely a plus.
All right, Mike, let's jump into your wheelhouse a little bit and talk about Buffalo's run game, which got some traction yesterday. Coach referenced this after the game specifically, but he thought the blocking assignments were better executed on a more consistent level yesterday. It kind of allowed some runs to get out of the gate a little bit, most notably James Cook at the end of the game, who kind of used a little improv once he got to the second level and just outraced people to the end zone. That's something we have not seen to a great degree from the running back contingent that this team has had the last couple of years. It was an element that we thought Cook could bring to the group. We witnessed it yesterday. What does that do to a coaching staff's mindset going forward when they see a guy not only have the juice to get through the hole, but to turn it into a touchdown? How much does that impact an offensive play caller going forward?
Yeah, I mean, it gives the offensive play caller the confidence to know to give the kid the ball in crucial situations, and it tells the offensive play caller, look, maybe I should figure out ways to get the ball in this kid's hands a little bit more. And I thought the run game came along a little bit more yesterday because of the explosive passes. Guys, when a defense walks up to the Buffalo Bills and they see Josh Allen, they see Steph Diggs, they see all the speed, they see the offensive line, they see everything, the first thing they're going to think about is, I have to stop that big, strong-arm Superman of a quarterback from beating me deep. He can actually throw the ball over our head. That's exactly what happened in the Pittsburgh Steelers game. He was throwing the ball over the safety's head, and the safety's supposed to be the deepest of the deepest. He's throwing it over their head, so there really isn't a spot on the football field that he can't hit. So when a defense first walks up to the line, they have to guard against that. And when you put those explosive plays on tape, those 70-yard touchdowns by Gabe Davis and the big explosives by Steph Diggs and everybody else, safeties, instead of sitting at about 10 to 12 yards. Now they sit at about 15 to 19 to 20 yards just so that they can have enough depth to be able to get back so that Josh Allen doesn't throw the ball over their head. Well, when they're sitting at 15 to 20 yards, that's the natural space needed in the run game because the box count is going to be there because they're scared to get outnumbered in the passing game. The box count is going to always be there to run the football. That's where the space comes in. That's where the run game comes in because those safeties have to guard against the pass before they trigger and get into the box and stop the run. So I think what's happening with Ken Dorsey right now, he's exploring a lot of different things. He's getting his run game going. He's obviously the first priority is getting Josh Allen going in each game plan, but he's creating doubt in defenses' minds, right? He's creating some things that they have to prepare for each and every week. And obviously the run game came last week.
What do you think is something that the Bills could put in their offense or accentuate more of? You've seen a little of, like, the Josh Allen run game or the handoff run game or the RPOs, the deep pass, the screen game. Is there anything that you have seen of the Bills offense so far this year that you wish you'd see more of?
Maybe this is the running back in me, but two tailbacks in the game. With some of those speedy wide receivers in the game as well. I'd like to see a little bit more 10 personnel, no tight ends, all wide receivers, and just let this thing go. Obviously, I'm a running back. I come from a running backs mentality and running the football, but you also have to see how your team is built. And when you got one of those guys, you guys hear me talk about it each and every week because it starts with the quarterback position. When you have one of those guys, one of those 4 or 5 guys walking this planet that can will a team to a win with his arm, with his abilities, with his eyes, everything that this kid is all about. You have to get him going. The offense starts there. I think we're also seeing with Russell Wilson in Denver. He needed a running game. He needs defense. He needs a creative play caller. It's not just him. I believe Josh Allen is one of those guys where, it starts with him. You have to get him going. And so if I can put both of those running backs on the field at the same time, if you get James Cook, a speedy guy that's tough to tackle in space, you get a motor, Devin Singletary in space, again, another guy that's tough to tackle along with that speed. How do you stop it? Because again, you can just throw a flat to these guys. And you may know they're getting the football, but the defense still has to have a physical encounter with them, which is pretty tough to take those guys down. So I would go a little bit more pony personnel and 10 personnel. Those are two personnels I'd like to see a little bit more.
Give me some 20. Give me some 20. Forget about the tight ends altogether. Give me some 20 personnel. Last one we got for you, Mike. You know that there was a benefit here getting up on the scoreboard so much. Josh Allen's wearing a ball cap along with a bunch of other starters that got to sit for the fourth quarter and rest up for the Chiefs. The Chiefs don't play until tonight. They've got a division tilt with a Raiders team that absolutely hates them. Steve and I personally are hoping for a very physical matchup between those two teams. But being a former player, let's talk about one less day of rest for the Chiefs coming off a game tonight, combined with the Bills being able to rest the balance of their starters for the fourth quarter in the game yesterday. What's the cumulative effect there in terms of the Bills coming into this one fresh?
Well, all right, I'm going to be a player for you guys for a second. I'm going to put on my player hat, not my analyst hat, not my fan hat, but my player hat. We don't care about that.
Okay.
We're going in here. We're preparing like we're going to get the Super Bowl version of the Kansas City Chiefs. We're preparing like they've had 2 weeks off. We're preparing like they're going to give us any and everything that they can. Right? We'll let the fans talk about the cumulative effect and the fact that if this is a physical game, because I believe that the Las Vegas Raiders should get the run game going, so they should beat the Kansas City Chiefs up front, maybe give some cut blocks to Chris Jones and getting guys like that so it can slow them down from rushing the passer next week. Let the fans talk about that type of stuff. But as a player, we're preparing for the best version of the Kansas City Chiefs. We're preparing for the best version of Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy, and we're preparing for the best version of everything, the defense, everything going into next week. And that's how you want it. You want the best version of the Kansas City Chiefs because you don't want any doubt in their minds when they take that L next week.
Mike Robinson, thanks for coming on with us, man. It's good seeing you again after a win.
Absolutely, man. I'll talk to you guys next week after next week's one.